Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're doing a live show today instead of tomorrow because tomorrow we're going to be uh, going on the 4th of July vacation. What are your plans, Martin?
I leave for Europe next week, so I'm gonna
Oh,
be working. I always like to. It just sounds crazy, but I'd like to work like on during the weekends when I'm here by myself. My family's in Europe already, so it's just gonna be work, and I typically work through the Fourth of
yeah,
July. Like I just kind of don't let anybody
right.
know I'm here, and I'm just kind of locked up in the office, and I'm just trying to get things done. So,
Trying to get things done.
uh,
Exactly. Very good. Yeah, I'm going to visit folks. For the last 2 3 years, I've been going to El Paso. It's pretty fun. So we're going to do that tomorrow. First of all, y'all, I just want to give you guys a big thank you to everyone who has followed us. We have reached our goal of 1,000 viewers, and really,
on
this
YouTube, followers,
on
1,000 followers on YouTube,
Yes,
right?
right. In YouTube, and this really does serve as a testament, as proof that number one, you're listening to us. That's great, and that you're finding this information useful, and that's also very important to us. We've already received messages already from the community, from other followers that they're sending us messages that they're finding our updates pretty useful. In some situations, they didn't even know that the law has changed or that they're able to apply for a certain immigration benefit. So I'm really happy about that, and we're just we're glad that we can be of a service to the community. So keep sending us those comments and feedbacks, and keep liking us and share your information to others. And if you have any feedback, or if you have any messages for us, we'll be glad to take those uh, messages. And we sometimes form shows out of those messages. So just please keep on doing that.
And and
Uh,
I and also I'd like to say, if you would like for us to cover any topic at all in depth or in just more detail, leave us a comment, and we'll be happy to prepare a show. Because sometimes we cover a lot of things, and we're just doing a wrap up, right? But typically we have a Spanish speaking show on Wednesdays, which just gets into the weeds sometimes as well. So that's basically kind of covering it in detail, and also an employment based or business based investors show, which is in English on Wednesdays as well. So, but any topic that you're interested in, we'll be happy to do that. We'd like to do that, so we'd like to keep you informed.
yeah, we have pretty much have everything for everyone. So as Martin said, just let us know. In fact, we formed two shows based on your comments, and we're really happy that you found those programs so useful. And so we'll continue to do that for you. So we'll start off. This is this is a news wrap-up show. So we take in the immigration news of this week or this past couple of weeks, and we deliver them to you with, of course, our insight, our opinions about it, maybe make some predictions. And if you have any questions about any of these topics, feel free. You can send us a question online, and we'll be happy to answer it in real time. Or if not, we'll get back with you at a later time. But of course, the big news of today, right, is the Supreme Court decision. They said that the Biden administration can end the Remain in Mexico policy. This policy, otherwise known as the Migrant Protection Protocols, which, if you recall, this policy led to many individuals, most of them individuals who are coming from Central America and looking for some sort of humanitarian relief. They were, instead of allowing them to be here or bonding them here in the United States, they would keep them outside in Mexico. And of course, that presents a set of dangers. And Martin, what do you have to say about that? And I know you had a news interview today about this topic. What is your opinion about this?
No, I mean it's a fantastic news for immigrant immigrants everywhere and immigration advocates. It's something that, we were waiting to the last day. Today was the last day for the Supreme Court to deliver or issue the final two opinions, and this was one of them. So it was everybody awaited it eagerly, and finally the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, had ruled that the Biden administration could end that program. The Remain in Mexico, the Migrant Protection Protocol, which was started by or enacted by former President Trump. And it was really just to keep people out of the U.S. and specifically the asylum seekers, which is a protected class. Those are people that are desperate. They're coming to our borders. They're coming to our country to seek protection from persecution in their home country. And they're protected under the U.S. and international law. And so the prior president just said, okay, we're just going to use this obscure provision in immigration law, which stated that the administration may keep these applicants in a foreign country, in a foreign contiguous country. And so the Trump appointed Judge Kaczmarek, basically just took it as, okay, no, it's not going to be may. You must keep them outside, and that's why when the MPP was discontinued, and then the 2.0 had to be restarted by the Biden administration because of the Judge Kaczmarek. So today, all of that was cleared up, and finally, the administration is free to end it. So people do not wait in a pretty unsafe and dangerous conditions. And I know, Mexico had done everything they could to protect people, but at the same time, you have, groups of cartels and all kinds of individuals who would kidnap people. There were reports of deaths, and so it's a huge victory. Really, it's a huge victory because, people that are seeking asylum protections, they have very difficult cases, and this is nothing that could be just kind of prepared overnight in a tent somewhere, but it really requires, very, very tough evidentiary preparation, and for that you typically need a seasoned immigration lawyer that does asylums. And under the 1.0, I think initially the administration under the former president put like 70,000 people in Mexico awaiting the trial. And then there were reports that only 7.5% of those people that were outside were represented by attorneys. So you can't find an attorney. And so I think out of 40,500 cases, only 500 got the positive relief in immigration court, during the first wave. So it's just a huge victory. And actually seeing it that you had conservative judges being right on the prevailing side. The 5-4 decision shows that, as politicized and polarized society currently is in wake of Roe v. Wade decision, they're saying this is not really political. This is strict interpretation. This was a permissive may keep somebody out of the country, not must. And so they basically overruled the lower court judge, and so it's just great victory.
Yeah, what my takeaway, and I sort of spoke on this topic 2 weeks ago. Was I was presenting at the annual American Immigration Lawyers Association in New York, and I talked about the different types of applicants that present themselves at the border. Some of them are processed in, and if they apply for asylum, if they express a fear, then they have to go through some process, right? And some of them are allowed to get what's called parole, which is a special permit to come in. Others are placed in deportation proceedings, but are allowed to bond out. But if folks, if you think about this opinion, I mean, the lower court said, no, you guys have this program and you must enforce it. you must enforce it. And that's kind of crazy because, as you said, pointed out, Martin, there's no requirement. This is not mandatory. The government, the agencies, just like the police officers, they just should have this wide discretion, right, to see how they should enforce the law the way they see fit in accordance to what they have, the resources. They might not have manpower to process all of those cases, and so they should be given the opportunity, of course, to decide what is best. That's what they're doing. The executive administration, the agencies, that's what they're supposed to do under the Constitution, is administer the law. And what we had here is this judge said, no, you're going to do it my way. It's like a federal judge putting on a police chief hat and saying telling the police department how to run its business. So that, I think, was a good opinion, because we need the agency to do its job the way it deems fit, and we can't enforce. The judges can't enforce the law. That's not their job. So I found it very welcoming, if you will. The other thing is that you mentioned it was the violence. These individuals were exposed. Not only that, but we had lack of access. They had a lack of access to attorneys. They weren't able to get attorneys, and there was some sort of report that said that those individuals who were kicked out and forced to wait outside for their court hearing, 7% of them only were able to get an attorney to represent them, or some sort of legal representative to go with them before immigration court. Whereas those who are here in the United States, the percentage is something like 63%. They usually get an attorney. So there is a difference between being forced to go outside and wait for your hearing and allowing the person to bond out under certain conditions or be released under certain conditions, and allow them to go through the process here. So it was positive development. It's a win for the Biden administration, if you will.
Yeah, and there's still Title 42, which has been enjoined, and so the administration has to enforce it, but there's more discretion. So I think that may eventually, we'll see if it's going to be dismissed, or based on this opinion, administration will just take some steps, or whether it's going to go up to the Supreme Court next term. But it's in terms of what's going to happen, and that was the question of the reporter that interviewed me today, was just like, what's going to happen? Like, it is going to be announced right away, and we don't know that. I mean, as of this morning, the administration has not made any comments, but they are free to end it, and so they might give us some lead time. But also the case should go back to the lower courts for some further consideration. So nobody knows at this point what's going to happen. But the good point is that it's a win, and those that deserve the access to counsel and access to be heard and determine whether they have fear of persecution if they were to return, now will get it, and they will not have to be in a different country in poor conditions, exposed to risk, and to await it, because it's just that's not who we are. And right. Granted, I mean, resources are scarce, and it's tough, and so I understand arguments on both sides, but at the end of the day, you just gotta side with those that are seeking the protection. However way you look at it, that's just what it is. And so we have to get ready for it. We have to beef up the system so that they could be heard and they could be heard timely. But in the meantime, they're going to be safe. They will be here. They'll have the opportunity to work and contribute to our economy, which is in need of workers. So I think it's a win-win. Yeah.
As soon as DHS makes an announcement, we'll make sure to pass that information on to you. Moving on, and this is another issue or another topic that we spoke about at the conference. about this policy regarding those who are applying for a green card here in the United States. It's called that process, as we know, it's called adjustment of status. And there has been a positive, another positive news, right? It's been a good development regarding how immigration interprets the law. And just to kind of give you an idea what was happening, a little just kind of a backdrop here, those who are applying for a green card, they have to show that they have been admitted into the United States. In other words, that they entered with permission, but they also have to show that they don't fall under any of the disqualifications listed under the law. And there's a long laundry list. One of them includes those who have been, and this is a legal term that they use, unlawfully present. So if you were here illegally or without status, and there's some exceptions, but generally speaking, if you were here unlawfully present in the United States for a certain period of time, let's just say that you entered the United States with permission, with a visa, right? And let's just say that they gave you 6 months, but you overstayed. If you've overstayed and if you've been here in the United States longer for 6 months, but less than a year, then if you leave the country, then you're barred for 3 years from re-entering or applying for a green card. Now, if you've been here longer than a year without status and you leave the country, you're barred for 10 years. And this is the infamous 3 and 10-year bar that you sometimes see on the news and or hear about. But this is what it's referring to. So it is somewhat confusing, but what was happening, especially applicants who were trying to get a green card through a son or daughter who's a U.S. citizen. So what was happening is that the applicant would enter the United States, right? So far, we're good. They enter the United States. They meet the requirement of applying for a green card because they can show that they entered with the visa. But let's just say that during a period of time, they overstayed their status, and let's just say they overstayed it for 6 months or longer than a year, and they were entering, they were leaving and entering, they were coming back and forth just like that. During this period, they have accrued more than 1 year, and they're subject to this waiver. So what was happening? We were filed the application for a green card, and the officer, it could have been maybe within 5 years of their last entry into the United States, we would file the application for the green card, and the officer would require a waiver. Okay, and in those situations, that person is still within that 10-year period. But let's just say the person has last entry was longer than 10 years, and they are now applying for a green card through a son or daughter, and the officer requires them to file for a waiver. I mean, the 10-year bar should have ran, right? The person's already been here for more than 10 years. Do they need to file a waiver for their unlawful presence that they triggered the moment they left? Well, there was so much inconsistency. I had clients denied, had clients approved, and that's caused a lot of confusion among these officers. And finally, USCIS went ahead and clarified and said that if the time that the 10-year bar, when it's triggered the moment a person leaves, and then they subsequently come back to the United States, the moment they depart, it starts that 10-year period, let's just say. And it doesn't matter if the person's here as opposed to outside. They were requiring that the person serve those 10 years outside. But if the person re-entered, they don't need to file a waiver if it's beyond 10 years and they're already here. Maybe you can explain this better, Mark, but it is kind of a confusing way. It's somewhat complex. And certainly we've already sent out some information out. We do have a blog that kind of simplifies that information, but it is a positive development. Well, we have people who were previously denied because they were requiring a waiver. And in a lot of those instances, they were not eligible for a waiver because they didn't have a qualifying family member to base their waiver on. And so now those individuals who wait the 3 or 10-year period after having entered with a visa do not have to apply for that waiver for unlawful presence that they triggered when they left. I know it's a mouthful. I don't know, Mark, do you want to maybe simplify it?
No, it's you said it well. I mean, you have to use examples to explain it, but it basically relates to a section which does not specify where do you have to spend that time. Right below it is a section which we called a death penalty, which means no matter what, there's no waiver available. You have to be outside for 10 years. So you have these two sections right below each other. One specifically designates the place where you have to spend that 10 years, and the other one doesn't, which is basically open that you can spend it right here. And we've wanted to take these cases higher. We wanted to appeal it and hopefully ultimately take it to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which you've argued before previously. But we just never got those clients to go all the way up there. And I mean, you've indicated that they are basically they strictly interpret the law, and the law says that it doesn't specify the time. So we didn't have that opportunity to appeal it and to take it to the Fifth Circuit. But again, welcome. This is a very welcome decision and policy. And so now those that would typically need to file a waiver based on a spouse or a parent who is a resident or citizen, right? I mean, if this was just like you said, petition filed by a son, then you would be ineligible because you didn't have a spouse or a parent who is a resident or citizen. So here, again, it's just going to allow the USCIS reopen many thousands of cases. Yeah. And those applicants will finally be receiving their green cards.
Yeah. And 2 clarifications. So because of we've been receiving questions from clients already about this. One of them is, well, what if I entered the United States with a visa, right? But then I left the country. They stayed here for over a year and they left the country, and then they come back in here illegally. That's
the second section,
right? That this update's not going to help you. In fact, you're going to be facing a what they call a permanent bar for having re-entered after illegally. I want to say legally, not with a visa, after having lived here for a year. We've had several folks who already were asking us about that, and also I think it's important to note that this update doesn't say that if you've been leaving and entering like that with a visa, that you will not need a waiver ever. It doesn't say that. It says that you don't need a waiver if you were living here and you wait out the period. You still have to wait out the period. In other words, whether it's a 3-year period or a 10-year period, you still have to wait that period, that time to pass, and then you can make that argument that you don't need the waiver. Now, there are people who need to file that application. Let's just say that it was a person is subject to the 10-year bar, but since the last departure, they've lived here maybe 5 years. Well, they could still apply for their green card, but since they're still within that time frame, they still have to apply for a waiver. And Martin, those waivers are sometimes tough to get, right? So,
yeah, they are, because you had to demonstrate the extreme hardship to the qualifying relative, and so that's without it, you are not moving forward. And that's my typical spiel in consultations, that I call these waivers an engine of a car, right? I mean, if you don't have it, if it's not there, it's not working, we're not moving forward to the next step. So again, very, very, very welcome decision and announcement.
Yeah. Well, moving on, Mart. I mean, this is somewhat positive news. It's just somewhat of a rumor that it's been floating around. In fact, last week or the conference I asked when the DACA when DACA was going to drop, and no one knew anything about that. But a couple, I guess I would say a week later, we hear about this leak somewhere, right? That says something about these new DACA regulations that we've been talking for a long period of time already. Just look at our shows, and we talk about these new DACA regulations when they were proposed, when we thought they were going to be announced, and but now they're saying possibly in August. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Mar? I mean,
yeah, I also heard August, and it's again just kind of taking you back. DACA was enacted through executive action by President Obama back in 2012. And, executive action is just that. You can have somebody else who comes into the White House and said, okay, I don't like it anymore. I'm going to stop it. And you're going to have states who are going to litigate it. And so that's exactly what happened, right? It was back and forth. You called it a roller coaster because it was you had it, we didn't have it. We had it, we didn't have it. And so it was eventually suspended, and all the initial DACAs were put on hold. And the new applicants were not able to get it adjudicated. Now, the administration said you can go ahead, and the DHS said you can go ahead and submit it. They were just going to be held and not adjudicated until there will be a green light again. And so that green light is supposed to be coming. It's going to get basically codified. It went through the rulemaking. The rule should be published. And then typically that's the 60 days. So if it's going to drop in August, if it's going to be announced in August, for the new applicants, not those that already have it, because they can continue renewing it, but it's for the initial new applicants. And so typically there's a 60-day delay. So we're going to keep you updated, but that's again fantastic news. From the rumors, the basic requirements are not supposed to change, right? So entered the U.S. On or before June 15th of 2007. You were under the age of 16. You're at least 15 when you're applying for it. You were born after June 15th of 1981. Was it June 15th or January? I think it was June 15th of 1981.
Right, that's June 15th, 1981.
June 15th of 81. After June 15th of 81, and then you have a GED or are in the GED program or have completed a high school or college or whatnot, and then you have not been convicted of certain serious crimes, and that's it. And so if you meet those requirements, then you apply for it, and then you have to show that you've been here in unlawful status on June 15th of 2012, the day when it was announced. So that's supposed to stay intact, right? People were wondering and kind of thinking, well, maybe they'll move the entry date to 2012 or 2020, right? Because all of a sudden you would double or triple probably not triple, but you would increase the number of applicants. But that's probably not going to happen. So, but at least it's going to be on the books. So you can't just have somebody who's going to come in, next president who doesn't like it and he's going to cancel it. Again, Band-Aid, right? We call it a Band-Aid. It's authorized stay. It's not lawful status. It's authorized stay. It's ensured we are deferring your deportation. I mean, it sounds pretty scary. And so that's basically what it is. But hopefully there will be a law. It will be a new thing or a new process that will lead all these DACA grantees to legalization and green card. And we're just hoping and praying for that. But, this will be, again, welcome news. Will it get litigated? Probably, right? You're going to probably find one or two or three states like you had in
Texas,
in MPP. Did you say Texas?
Texas,
Mississippi, Louisiana. I mean, Florida potentially. It's just, they need relief. They need relief so these folks can just kind of focus and say, okay, I'm here to stay. I'm here legally, and I get to in the future apply to be a citizen. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, they've been here. They've been doctors, nurses, lawyers. We have people, that work for us that have DACA status, DACA authorized stay. We're going to fight for them and hopefully they get the relief that they are seeking in the future.
Yeah, we're definitely rooting for that. And the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing shows that are about DACA, gearing up for this potential announcement. And so if you have any questions, or if you want us to talk about a particular issue regarding DACA, please let us know. And moving on to a sadder topic, as we know what happened near San Antonio, over 50 individuals were found dead, individuals who were smuggled in the United States in the trailer. And this has happened before, but not to this magnitude. And the Senator Durbin is calling this the Uvalde moment. That's what happened. That led to gun reform. This is going to lead to some immigration reform. Amar, I'm wondering what your take is on that.
On what? On the
on this whole issue about, well, this is going to maybe present some more discussion on immigration reform. And that could be in the form of, both sides are kind of speaking out right now. They're saying, well, it's your fault for not having a wall, and then the other side is saying, well, this is what happens when the border is when we're turning people away, and instead of having them go through a process and have them exercise their rights in court. They get desperate. These are individuals who are coming from Central America in a desperate situation.
No, it's a sad story, and when you read it, and when you read that it was a refrigerated truck that the AC wasn't working for, or the chillers, and then they would sprinkle people. I don't know if this was before it happened, the tragedy, or like with some spices. So because you have law enforcement that sometimes trails these trucks, and they have technology which basically just catches and processes the air when they're riding behind the trailer to see if there are any exhaust and fumes coming over that could detect that they may be transporting humans in these tractor trailers, and we're talking about 35 that goes from Laredo all the way up to Minnesota, up to the Canadian border. So it is the corridor that is known for the traffickers, and so apparently they're just trying to mask the odors for these cars, this law enforcement cars, vehicles with these air detectors. And then you had, I think, those two smugglers are U.S. citizens, and one of them tried to pretend to be one of the victims. So it's just a gruesome, sad story of desperation. And it's, whether something's going to come out of it, man, I mean, it seems like we talk about it every week, every month, that, something should happen, but it's election year. So it's just, I think the rhetoric is just going to get worse. Yeah. They should take the moment and think about it, just like, they've passed a bipartisan bill in the Senate and in the House for the Uvalde, or following the Uvalde tragedy, and with the guns bill. I don't know. I mean, yeah, this is always, we hope something would come out of it, but it's just so complex. It's got so many layers. It's got to be peeled off and addressed. That I'm not sure if the next 4 months or 5 months anything will happen. But we should not have anything like this again. That's just tragic.
It's unfortunate that when we want big major change, that a tragedy has to precede it. Why get to that point? But I think that's what what they're trying to Dick Durbin and everyone want to make it that. And individuals, and this is sort of on the side, but it relates to individuals who've been smuggled in. There are some protections under the law. These folks can request humanitarian visas, and we got what is known as a T visa for victims of trafficking. And I don't know if anyone, I think there may be some survivors there, and they can certainly they can certainly take look at that as an option. U visas are for victims of criminal activity. I'm pretty sure they're going to look at that. The authorities will, in terms of whether or not the criminal charges should be put
If
forward.
you know anybody that is seeking representation, we do handle these types of cases. So if you somehow are related to some of the victims or surviving victims, please let us know. Just reach out to us. We'll be happy to jump on it.
Yeah. Well, moving forward from those tragic news, we just have just a few other brief news items that y'all should be aware of. And really, the CBP announced that if you're a U.S. citizen and if you are going to use an expired passport, they to try to enter, and I think they're talking about if you're traveling by air, then don't do it, because they won't allow you to re-enter. That's I don't know much about that, but I do know something about Mexican passports, Martin, because
Yeah, congratulations.
yesterday I had the privilege and honor to become a U.S. citizen. My parents
Mexican citizens.
Yes, my Mexican citizenship. That's what I got the passport yesterday. My parents, and if any of y'all are interested, if you have parents, I was born here in the United States, but my parents are from Chihuahua. They were born there, and you can derive, just much like you can derive citizenship here. You could also derive citizenship even though you were born in another place outside of Mexico. You could definitely look at that option. And why do it? Because, well, I've always wanted to do it. Mexicans. I grew up in El Paso and near Mexico. It's also good. I'm proud to be from Hispanic heritage. My Hispanic heritage. I'm proud to be Mexican. Well, there's also practical uses, right? You could. It makes it easier to travel Cancun for that, margarita on the beach. And also you can invest and buy properties. And so maybe we'll establish a satellite office in Monterrey, like we've been talking about, Martin.
Sure. Absolutely. I'm also dual citizen of Slovakia and the United States, and my children were born in Slovakia, but they also have both citizenships, and they acquired it through the parents, through myself and my wife. So it's just it's an option. And since we split time between the U.S. and also live there and have family there, it certainly is a good way to travel and enjoy the privileges of that country. So I'm just like you are. We're both proud Slovak and Mexican and proud American citizens. So
yeah,
I also wanted to give a shout out to a newly elected Representative Mayra Flores down from the Rio Grande Valley, who ran a historic campaign. It was to fill in a seat of a Democratic representative who retired, and so she just filled it through January. She's going to have to run for re-election again in November, but it was historic in the sense that that district has been Democratic for dozens and dozens of years, and she's married to a CBP agent, and although she's a Republican, and Republicans tend to be the ones that are more restrictive on immigration and just kind of overall reforms. We hope that her being and really why it's historic is so she's the first Mexican-born U.S. Congresswoman, right? So she was born in Mexico. She's the first one. So just want to kind of give her a shout out for that. And I hope that she will work with her Democrat colleagues and really with her Republican colleagues as well to help usher through a comprehensive immigration reform, right? Because she's gone through that journey of immigrating to the U.S. And so anyways, I hope that she will be she will play a part in helping, passing something good.
All right. And with that, we have some questions. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen here. This is from Emily Super Cool Maxwell, and she says, I have a question. How long do unlawful presence waivers take? And believe that it can speed up the process. She also sent a second. Why does it take so long for an immigration process? I have been waiting for 22 years. How long does an unlawful presence waiver? The waivers that we talked about today are those for those who are already here and applying for a green card here. But I think maybe, and most people who ask this question, and I could be wrong, Emily, but this is why we ask that you do maybe perhaps seek us out later so we can talk about it more in depth about your case. But most folks ask us about the waiver process or how long it takes for those who would need to go outside the country. So they're here in the United States, they're being petitioned by a family member, but they can't get their green card here. And so the other alternative is to go outside. But since we talked, just like we talked about today, if you've been living here for a certain period of time, let's just say over a year, then the moment you leave the country, you're going to trigger a 10-year wall, a 10-year bar from coming back. The good thing is that currently there is an option of filing what's called a provisional waiver for your unlawful presence. Provisional because you can get it in advance, get it approved before you leave the country. And the moment you leave the country, you'll have that bar, but you would have already have the waiver approved to take care of that. And all you need to do is apply for a visa and have that visa interview for Mexican nationals in Ciudad Juarez. So maybe if I'm incorrect, I think what we could do is we can set up a consultation.
Plus, Emily, and it's a super cool name, Maxwell. We also are offering right now free consultations. Most of our consultations are free if they're virtual. So I invite you to set up one because it's a kind of a two-part question. One is why it's taking so long. So the waivers generally are taking about 15 months right now after submission, where you have to prove extreme hardship if we're talking about the waivers for unlawful presence. So you're going to have a parent or a spouse who's a U.S. Citizen or U.S. permanent resident, and you will be having to prove the extreme hardship to those qualifying relatives, whether they stay and you leave or whether they have to, and if they have to leave and live with you abroad if you don't get the waiver. So you have to demonstrate that. But then the second question is, why is it taking 22 years? It seems like you may have been petitioned by somebody else in a preference category, and if you are, for example, from Mexico, you have certain preference categories that are taking 21, 22 years. There are some other countries that are also backlogged, and so that's why it's taking. So it's not a waiver. It's basically you waiting to be able to go to the second step. And so petition is filed. It establishes a priority date. That's the date we always look to. And then we consult Department of State every month to see how far ahead have you moved closer to the date when you can file, right? And so I think fourth preference Mexico could be 2001. So it is about 22 years. And so you may be coming up. Then there's also, if this was filed before 2001, April 30th, 2001, you may not need a waiver for unlawful presence, even if you are here unlawfully. You may use Section 245I, where you will be able to stay here. So again, it's the best thing would be to set up a consultation. We'll be happy to consult with you or any other attorneys, but we'll be happy to consult with you. And we're currently offering free consultations in light of the economy and everything that's going on. So we want to help out folks. And so, find the link in the comments to set it up, and we'll be happy to talk to you tomorrow or Saturday. Actually, Nick and I will be consulting Saturday while people will be enjoying the 4th of July weekend. We volunteered to consult Saturday, so you may talk to one of us.
Yeah, we'll have a beer in one hand and the phone on the other hand. So
that's it.
Okay, so that pretty much that wraps it up for this show. But before we conclude, and Martin's going to tell a little bit more about our Guardian app, and this is an app that Martin and I developed, and we're talking about news, getting the latest news. You saw this show today, and we take this information, we look at it, we analyze it, and we deliver it to you. And if you have any questions, you can send us a comment, or you could definitely call us to set up a consultation. But anyways, we give this information. It's available on Facebook, on YouTube, but it's also available through our app, right, yeah. Martin?
It is Lawpilot Guardian. We just, this is I guess the debut, a brand new facelift, new build, and you're looking at the big red button alert. So if you are experiencing any emergency problems, if you are speaking to law enforcement, for police, immigration, customs enforcement, if you want to reach us directly and you have an emergency, when you tap this button, you will be connected to us. We'll know where you are through GPS location, and we'll be able to actually also listen into the audio that gets recorded and uploaded to the cloud for our review to see if you need our help. If you don't have this app, you should. I don't know why you wouldn't have it. It's very simple. If you're our client, you have an account, you can just go to the App Store or Play Store and download it. It's called Lawpilot, and the feature is called Lawpilot Guardian. It's loaded with features, know your rights. We send out notifications and breaking news. So if you want to know and stay in, like Nick said, stay informed, that's certainly going to do that. You will receive a push notification, and if you need to schedule a consultation, you can do it from this app. So it's just a really, really great resource. And we invite you to register. You can scan the QR code on the screen and get connected to us. Typically when somebody's in trouble, we or the family doesn't find out until they are booked, processed, and they are in detention where they get their first phone call. And then the family has to struggle. They have to find somebody very quickly, hastily, and they don't know that person. They're just looking at reviews possibly. But if you, I guess by now you know who we are, and those clients that have been with us, they understand our dedication. And Nick and I built this app for you, for our clients and for immigrants in general, especially a few years ago when the enforcement was just rampant, when people were getting deported. So we wanted to make people feel secure and give them peace of mind. And so that's why we built this app, and we gave it to them, to their phone. So, nobody knows what happened to you until you call them. But here, when you tap the red button, when you alert us, we know immediately. You can close the screen, you can handle the situation, but we know where you are, who you're with, what's being said, and do you need our help, right? And so, I mean, what there's nothing better than that. I mean, that's it. So, it's really, really, really fantastic tool. So if you don't have it, register and download it and have it, and you'll be connected to us, and that's going to be good. So thank you.
That sounds good. And that's a wrap. Just don't forget to like us, to subscribe, and let us know how we're doing.
All right. Well, happy 4th of July, everybody. And we'll see you. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.